Torn. That's the word hammering in my skull as I stared at the oversized wedding photo above the fireplace. Mark and me, 28 years ago, blissfully clueless. My eyes, dry as dust, reflected the ghost of a smile from a lifetime ago, a lifetime I was about to detonate. Tears had been shed, gallons of them, in the silent war raging inside me. But the verdict was in. Tonight, the bomb drops. Beside me on the sofa, Chris squeezed my hand. His touch, usually a jolt of electricity, felt like a weak current tonight. Gratitude flickered, a tiny spark in the gathering darkness. 15 months of stolen moments, whispered promises, and a slow burn affair that had consumed me. Every stolen kiss, every secret rendezvous, a brick pulled from the foundation of my marriage. The moment making love to Mark felt like cheating on Chris. That was the tipping point. The countdown to tonight began then. Relief. That's what I craved. Not joy, not happiness, just the sweet, clean air of relief. Because this charade, this suffocating performance of marital bliss, was killing me. The fake smiles, the phony enthusiasm, the lies piled upon lies. Girls' nights out that were clandestine meetings, work trips that were stolen weekends, a web of deceit so intricate, so exhausting, it was etched onto my face in the worry lines that deepened daily. My gaze drifted to the bookcase. The baseball bat, casually placed earlier, leaned against the shelf. A silent sentinel. Mark's views on infidelity were robust. Lately, his reading material had taken a dark turn. Short stories, always about cheating wives, always with brutal consequences. Husbands pushed to the edge, exacting fierce revenge. When I'd questioned him, he'd just muttered something about colleagues, messy divorces, family court nightmares. Mark wasn't violent. Not physically, but cornered, betrayed, robbed of his life. The man was built like a brick wall, a biomedical titan next to Chris, the artist, all lean lines and sensitive eyes. No, Mark wouldn't lay a hand on me. But Chris was another story. He was smaller, gentler, perfect BS. Bat avoidance system, for Chris to make a clean escape. The rumble of Mark's SUV in the driveway. My stomach lurched, heart hammering against my ribs. Swallow. Deep breath. Stay calm. The unfamiliar car, Chris's beat-up Volvo, parked on the street. Had Mark seen it? Had he pieced it together? My mind raced back to those stories, the cheating wife scenarios. The first one I ever read, my pulse spiked. Stay calm. Mark walked in, his gaze snagging on Chris. A flicker of surprise, then curiosity. I stayed rooted to the sofa, no wifely kiss to greet him. Mark noticed. He always noticed. He crossed the room, hand outstretched to Chris. "Mark," he said, the voice even, controlled. Chris hesitated, a brief, weak handshake. Mark subtly wiped his hand on his pants, a gesture I knew intimately after all these years. Chris retreated to the far end of the couch. Mark grabbed a beer from the fridge, settled into the armchair opposite us, popped the top. The hiss of the can echoed the pressure building in the room. He placed it on the coffee table next to our untouched wine glasses. The tension was a live wire, humming, threatening to snap. I couldn't meet his eyes. My gaze dropped to his clothes, jeans and a t-shirt. When had he started dressing so casually for home? Stupid question, irrelevant. This was it, the moment of truth. The moment I shattered the life of a good man, a pillar of the community, a devoted father, a nearly perfect husband, my first love, but not my last. "We need to talk, Mark," I managed, my voice a shaky whisper. His expression was neutral, unreadable. The mask he wore under pressure, coldly analytical, always thinking 3 steps ahead. Even with weeks of rehearsing, of playing out every possible scenario, my carefully constructed speech crumbled. My nerves were a live wire, humming, threatening to snap. "You've done nothing wrong, Mark. Absolutely nothing." My voice trembled. I cleared my throat, still avoiding his gaze. "Everyone, our friends, they've always envied our marriage. You've been exceptional." I forced a laugh, brittle and false. Mark's face remained a granite mask, no flicker of a smile. "I'm just apprehensive about telling some people. They might not understand. They might not forgive me for hurting you." My eyes darted over his shoulder, anywhere but at him. Still no reaction, no softening, no twitch of emotion. His lips moved, but he was a statue carved in ice. "Are you going to hurt me, Sarah?" The words were quiet, simple, yet they snagged my gaze, pulled it back to his. Finally, I met his eyes. His stare was intense, unwavering, like a scientist examining a specimen under a microscope. It broke the spell. I looked away, unnerved. I'm so sorry, Mark." The words felt hollow, inadequate. "I've fallen out of love with you. I've fallen in love with Chris." There, out in the open, the ugly truth laid bare. "I want to hurt you as little as possible, but I need a divorce, so Chris and I can be together." Silence. Thick, suffocating silence. I held my breath, waiting for the explosion. A throbbing vein in his temple, wet eyes, a clenched fist, a roar of rage. Anything. But there was nothing. His face remained a blank canvas. His lack of reaction terrified me more than fury ever could. My eyes flicked to the baseball bat again. The silence stretched, agonizing, unbearable. I had to fill it, to break the suffocating pressure. My carefully rehearsed speech, the gentle cushioning, was gone, vaporized in the face of his chilling calm. I didn't want to hurt you until I absolutely had to. Chris and we've been so careful. We didn't want you to find out until it was necessary. Which is now." My voice trailed off, lame excuses hanging in the air. "We limited our time together. My concern for you, for your feelings, it significantly restricted the occasions Chris and I could be together." "Avoiding me, you mean?" Mark's voice was flat, devoid of emotion. I couldn't answer, couldn't meet his gaze. The lies were gone, spent. I had nothing left. Not for this man, not anymore. I respected him too much to insult him with more fabrications, but I'd hoped he wouldn't ask, wouldn't be so direct. His words cut through the carefully constructed fog of my deceit. My silence was all the answer he needed. There was nothing left to say. No point in another hollow apology. I was willing to hurt him. We both knew it. We both knew. The air in the living room was thick with dread. Escape. That's all I wanted. The tension was a physical weight, pressing down, making my skin prickle. Mark wasn't screaming, wasn't lashing out, but I felt the tremors of his internal earthquake. Which reaction would it be? Rage? Despair? Something had to break. To clear the wreckage, to pave the way for my new life with Chris. An eternity passed. Mark just stared. Then, finally, "Okay, Sarah, okay?" The word slipped out before I could stop it. Okay, what? Was he agreeing? Just like that? Divorce? No fight? His tone was patient, almost detached. His expression bland, neutral. I sank back into the sofa, stunned. This wasn't in the script, not even close. This calm acceptance, this dismissal, it felt like a punch to the gut. Insulting. No questions, no accusations, no raised voice, no tears. 28 years, and he was letting me go in under 10 minutes without a flicker of emotion. I had agonized for months, sleepless nights, gut-wrenching dread, and he was discarding me like yesterday's newspaper. I had to say something. But what? How to break through that icy wall without jeopardizing Chris? A tightrope walk on broken glass. After all these years, you're just walking away. The words hung in the air, pathetic and pleading. You already walked away, Sarah. His voice remained level. Emotionally, you checked out a long time ago. What's the point of fighting? Let's just preserve the good memories. Go our separate ways. An answer. But not the one I expected. Not the one I wanted. Before I could formulate another question, he continued, I assume you have papers? Papers. Yes. Signed, notarized divorce petition in Chris's car. We hadn't anticipated this calm, swift acceptance. We'd prepared for yelling, screaming, maybe tears. Not paperwork, not tonight. Before I could move, Chris stood, exited, just like that. I watched him go, sensing the suffocating tension even he couldn't handle. In the sudden, uncomfortable silence, I mumbled, I'm sorry, Mark, for hurting you. He stood too. My eyes flicked involuntarily towards the bat. He ignored it. If you were truly sorry, Sarah, you wouldn't have done it in the first place. He strode into the kitchen. Another beer. Conversation over. Chris returned, manila envelope in hand, held awkwardly at waist level. Mark took 2 quick steps towards him. My heart lurched. Protect Chris. He stumbled backward, tripped over the edge of the couch, landed with a soft thud. Envelope now in Mark's hand. He glanced at me, red-faced, realizing the unheroic tableau. I tried to convey with my eyes, don't care, love you. Turned to Mark, impersonal gaze, still unreadable. Was he going to attack Chris? Mary knows we're here, I said quickly. If she doesn't hear from us by 8, she's calling the police. A bluff, but maybe effective. If you want to blame someone, Mark, blame me, not Chris. Oh, I blame you, Sarah. His voice was cold, precise. You're the one who made promises, years ago, to me, not Chris. He paused. And I don't want Chris to suffer any more than he already is. Suffer? What are you talking about? Why would Chris suffer? Mark gave me a look. Kinder, more patient. The kind he used when explaining complex concepts, things I might not grasp. You're 50, Sarah, past childbearing age. Chris is going to be childless, a genetic dead end. My blood ran cold. Childless. I hadn't even considered. The kids, yes. But Chris. There's no worse punishment for a man, Sarah. Never knowing the joy of a child's first steps, their first words. Never teaching them to catch a ball, ride a bike, helping with homework, driver's ed. He ticked them off on his fingers. He'll never be a hero to his daughter, a role model for his son. His voice hardened. And our kids, they'll want nothing to do with him when they find out what you two did. Ice spread through my veins. I shivered. The kids, my kids. I hadn't thought. You don't have to tell them, Mark. Desperate, pathetic. Lie to them. Like you lied to me. He shook his head. And Chris will marry someone, eventually. Someone he can never fully trust. Someone capable of this. He gestured vaguely between us. Someone who can hide abhorrent behavior with a smile. Someone with your acting skills. He shifted focus, his gaze sharp. Think about it, Sarah. The first time you tell Chris you're working late, girls' night out, any of the myriad excuses you used with me to be with him. He paused, letting it sink in. And in 5 years, 10, your looks will fade. Chris will still be 40, trim, young. Will he hesitate then, Sarah, having seen all your flaws? He emphasized the word, a subtle barb. The PMT crankiness, the snoring, all the little habits he hasn't discovered yet. Offended, I shot to my feet. I'm not the only one who snores, I sputtered, ready to launch into a litany of Mark's faults. And I can color coordinate better than... A gasp from Chris stopped me. His face, he was pale, eyes wide, staring at Mark. Mark's words, they were hitting home. Hard. I had to get Chris out of here. Now. Mark shrugged, a dismissive gesture. I collapsed back onto the couch, shocked, angry, deeply offended. Was that really what he thought of me? Had he harbored these bitter thoughts all these years, months of secrecy, of protecting Mark? Now, a burning desire for revenge, to make him pay for this cold dismissal, this casual discarding of me. But the words wouldn't come. They choked in my throat. Mark took a swig of his beer, tore open the envelope. I looked down at my hands, avoiding Chris's gaze, hoping he wasn't looking at me either. Half the value of the house, Mark muttered, flipping through the pages. He snorted. My house, before I even met you. He scanned further. Maybe half the bank account, if there's anything left. A pointed glance at me. Retirement accounts. Split the difference from separation date. 17 years until I retire. You get nothing until then. Silence descended as he read. Could Chris's love withstand this? The sudden plunge in financial security. The comfortable life I'd promised him. Mark's words echoed in my head. Artist versus pizza. A pizza can feed a family. Chris, the living embodiment of that bitter joke. The silence stretched, interminable. Finally, Mark looked up. "Seems reasonable," he said, his voice utterly flat. "Except for the house. Lawyer fees to fight that. Thousands." He shifted focus. "So, what now?" He gestured vaguely between us. "Lawyer up, I guess." He considered something. "I'll pack a few things." "No," the word burst out. "I want you to leave, now." He considered that. "Fine. I can drop your stuff at Chris's place next weekend." He glanced around the living room. "Change the locks in a couple of days. Don't bother coming back. If you miss anything, email me." He paused. "Pictures. You can have all the pictures off the walls, except the kids. We'll divide those." He frowned, then pointed to a framed photo on the mantelpiece. "Except that one. Except that. The cruise photo. Mark and me, smiling, tanned, impossibly happy. Taken 3 months into my affair with Chris. Before I loved him, when Mark's touch still held some warmth. Why that one? Why that picture, Mark?" He ignored my question, turning to Chris. First time he had addressed him directly. "Address, Chris?" He started with 42 Belmont, then corrected himself. "Wait, you moved. 58 Gavilia, right?" My blood froze. Mark knew Chris's new address, had known for months. How? When? We'd been so careful. I replayed scenes in my head, dinners, anniversaries, mornings, nights, gifts, date nights, time with the kids. No flicker of suspicion, no hint of knowledge. He'd been normal, loving, attentive. I stared at Mark. This stranger, my husband of 28 years, a complete stranger. The man who held my hand during childbirth, nursed me through the flu, comforted me after my mother died. The man I should know better than myself. But I didn't know him at all. I thought myself so clever, so careful, a master of deception. But Mark was the master. He'd known, for months, and hidden it. Why? How? If he loved me, wouldn't he have shown something? A flicker of pain? But had I truly loved him? Would I have been able to hide this so completely? Clearly, I hadn't. Not completely. Mark knew. I saw him 2 weeks ago, undressing me, gentle, loving, cherishing. A lie. He knew. The effort I'd put in, the acting, the feigned passion, the suppressed guilt, the shame when my body betrayed my heart, responding to his touch, the urge to flee the bed the second it was over, to scrub myself clean, lying beside him, sleepless, apologizing silently to both men, betrayal upon betrayal, days and nights of this performance, heart-pounding, not with love, but with fear. Fear of exposure, anxiety, exhaustion, all for nothing. He'd known all along. My careful words, my forced smiles, my stretched nerves, sleepless nights, mental wreckage, all for nothing. Did he ever love me? How long had he been pretending? A month, 4, 15, 28 years. All those awful things he'd said to Chris, those cutting pronouncements. Was that what he truly thought of me? Tears burned my eyes, but they wouldn't fall. Rage and rejection churned in my stomach. I reached for my wine, wanting to drown the bitterness. It tasted sour. Mark took the glass from my hand, along with Chris's half-finished one. He turned, walked towards the kitchen. "Hurry up, Sarah," he called over his shoulder. "Chris is already at his car." Dismissal. Final. I turned. Chris was gone. He hadn't waited. We wouldn't be walking out together 4 years later. Closing the magazine, I realized I hadn't absorbed a single word. Probably no great loss. Likely outdated anyway. Checking the cover. 3 years old. Surely a doctor's office, especially a fancy one like this, could afford current magazines. I tossed it back on the stack, picked up another, flipped through the glossy pages, mindlessly waiting for my name to be called. "Mrs. Smith?" Didn't react at first. Took a beat for the new name to register. Mrs. Smith still felt foreign, even after 4 years. Not Mrs. Brown anymore. I heaved my bag onto my shoulder, walked down the corridor to the exam room. Dr. Jones greeted me with a smile. "Hello, Mrs. Smith. What can I do for you today?" "Implanon replacement," I explained. 5 years. He nodded, made a note in my chart. "Have you talked to your husband about sharing the responsibility?" "Vasectomy." He smiled again. I returned it blandly. "Maybe next time." Friendly, neutral. Inside, a smug satisfaction. Months of arguments with Chris about the vasectomy. Why should I keep poisoning my body with hormones when you could have a simple snip? Office procedure, not even a hospital. Unlike tube tying, the non-chemical option for me. Pointed that out more than once in our last standoff. Then the MS excuse. Childhood mumps, supposedly. "Get your sperm tested," I demanded. "Maybe I can win this. Go off birth control entirely if his count is low." Stubborn mule refused. But so was I. Secretly salvaged a sample. Sent it off for testing. Oh yes, stored it correctly. Turns out, Chris wasn't just low count. Sterile. 0. Nada. Initially, victory surged. Confront him, I thought. Rub his nose in it. Then, common sense. Happy husband, not sparring partner. Love-making, not just release. And monthly bleeds. Inconvenient. I like not having periods. Replacement implant it was. After all, not forever. Dr. Jones was saying something, missed it completely. "Sorry, doctor. New implant," he repeated. "Vanguardian. Fantastic. Contraception. Plus. It records your pulse, regular intervals, all day. Other diagnostic tools. Come in feeling unwell? Just pause by the scanner, downloads everything. See what's been happening internally since your last visit. Space-age stuff." "Wow," I laughed. "Star Trek, side effects? Not going to balloon, grow a beard, anything like that? Like Implin?" "Nothing like that. Less disruptive than Implin, all the benefits. Lighter periods, maybe none at all." "Okay. Sounds good." Dr. Jones turned to his monitor, clicked an icon. "Oh. What the—" He rubbed his neck, puzzled. "How long did you say you've had your implant?" 5 years. 5. How is that possible? He swiveled towards me. "Are you sure? Looks like you already have a Vanguardian implanted." He pointed at the screen. "All your medical information. Downloaded." Confused. "Vanguardian, but I'm here to replace my implanon." "Must be a glitch," he muttered. "Vanguardians. Only approved, available 18 months. At most. Doctor, I haven't been to a doctor in 2 years, minimum." He frowned back to the screen. Information going back 4 years. Wave files, audio files. He shook his head. Glitch, crossed signals, someone else's Vanguardian linked to your chart. But the timeline... Google Map? He zoomed in. Flag, this clinic. Perplexed. Let's take a look at your implant. Examination bench. Head spinning. Lay down, turned away, squeamish about needles. Definitely a Vanguardian, Dr. Jones said, voice thick with confusion. Same as ours, except smidge longer, wider. Swiveled my head, looked at the screen, compared my arm to the image. Top of the page. Vanguardian. The name jolted a memory. Vanguardian. Pseudonym. Amateur writing site. Cheating wives' stories. Mark. Coincidence. The rest of the appointment blurred. Sorted out, Mrs. Smith. Crossed signal. Old implant. Maybe test group. Tech guys. Vanguardian. Be in touch. Nodded. Walked to reception. Paid the bill. Stumbled to my car. Hands on the wheel, snatches of past conversations flooded my mind. Clause in my contract. Company owns everything. Research, inventions. Even at home, own time. No patent for 12 months after resigning. Mark's favorite part of his work. Research, innovation. His forte. Mark on the couch, Chris and me. Faded jeans, casual polo shirt. Meager savings, divided assets, Caribbean cruise photo. Keep that one. Weeks before the cruise, implant inserted. Mark's suggestion. Inconvenient periods on vacation. Thoughtful husband. Touched. Clinic. Different clinic. New doctor. After the divorce. Old doctor. Dr. Black, friend of Mark's father, inspired Mark's research career. Awkward, Mark knew about Chris. From the start, Dr. Black, implant, device, Vanguardian, GPS locator, voice recorder, illegal, consent form, sign something, sue Dr. Black. Retired, Brazil. Younger Brazilian wife. Extradition. German war criminals. GPS recorder. Not just me. Military, something like that. Diabetic soldiers. Sugar regulation, no injections. GPS recorder. Not much of a leap. Cruise time. Shortly after. Mark quit his job. Low savings, living off it. Never checked. Credit card. Mark, bills. Cruise photo. Resignation memento. Framing. Himself. Scanner. Implant scanner. Hallway. Coat rack. Opposed me having it. Reframed. Kids. Discovery. Purpose. Deception. Unbelievable. Jason Bourne. James Bond. Gut feeling. True. All of it. Vice tightening around my chest. Hard to breathe. No revenge in divorce. Already done. Financially. Helpless. Dr. Black. Beyond reach. Mark, consent form. Millions from Vanguardian. Corporations. Pennies for me. New implant. Arm. Can't tell Chris. Shaky already. Ex-husband's deception. Mark, Algarve. Beachfront villa. Kids rave. Rarely talk. Driveway. Rundown cottage. Chris and me. Trip home. Blank. Red lights. Traffic ticket. Last thing I need. Autopilot. Door. Lounge. Chris on the couch. Sarah, we need to talk. Girl beside him, young, pregnant, very pregnant. 2 glasses of Chardonnay on the table.